are in the Beyond Default studio today with Karolynn Hardy. Hello, Karolynn.
Hello, Katrina. Thank you for having me here today.
Oh, it's so lovely to have you. You and I have known each other for, oh my goodness, it'll have to be a couple of decades, right?
Yeah.
But today we're going to talk about lots of different things to what we used to talk about when we worked together. That was all so boring. We're gonna get into some exciting stuff today. Um, well, first of all, I would love it. I mean, obviously, people that are listening to this, many people know me and my story, but don't know you and your story. So, I would love it if you could just share with us a little bit about your journey so far, and I guess what brings you into the Beyond Default room.
It's quite a detailed story, so I'm going to give you the more succinct
The
version,
abridged version.
the abridged version, exactly. I was always the kid that loved helping people, and I think that really translated into what I do now. But of course, it was not a straight line from there to here. So I was in the UK. I was on my travels around the world, and I was in a temporary role as a training administrator. And I was working with all of these trainers, and I had to organize all of their rooms and the bookings and the manuals and all of this fun stuff. And I remember looking at these trainers with absolute awe. And I thought, how cool is what they get to do every day? And so I guess that's the kind of short link to go. I then decided that I was going to go and get qualified in adult learning, and really found a passion for coaching along the way, loads of different kind of accreditations and things. But I think where it's led to today is a real passion for working with leaders, entrepreneurs, and really understanding how our mind works so that we can really excel and perform beyond where we ever hoped we could possibly be able to.
Love hearing you talk about that. You sound so passionate about it, Karolynn. So,
I am.
was there a pivotal moment? I mean, obviously you talked about that like it
Mm.
was kind of a relatively straight line, but was there a pivotal moment or two that went bang, I need to make these changes in my life?
I think there were a couple of moments along that journey. So I got into NLP, neuro linguistic programming, long before it was mainstream. I think
Long
I did
before it
my
was fashionable.
yeah, that's right. Exactly. What's that saying? When they zig, you zag.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
it.
me, right? So I did my first accreditation back in 2009, and I think that was the first of me really opening up to understand there was more beyond what I understood in terms of
Mm.
traditional learning. And, certainly back then we didn't talk about how the mind works, and neuroscience was not a thing. And, all of these things were actually something we were a bit more wary of. I think that was probably the first thing that really started to unpack my passion here, started that journey. The other one was quite a few years later, and I really wanted to unlock my career. I really felt like I
Mm.
was starting to get stuck. And I was working for a boss at the time, and let's just say his values and mine didn't quite line up. So, he kind of believed in a bit of tough love. He believed in, banter is the way that we build relationships, and that
Mm.
banter might sometimes border on bullying, but hey, it's all a bit of fun, isn't it?
Mm.
And
Not.
not. And I remember sitting on the sidelines going, I don't really know how to speak up. And no leadership program I've ever seen is helping me discover what I'm meant to do here. And
Mm.
so I didn't really know what to do, but I decided the only way was like a custom way forward. And so I signed up with a results coach, life coach, whatever we want to call those kind of support people these days. You know, I know they go through a lot of different titles, but I signed up with a results coach, and interestingly, I kind of went, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it with the best, or what I perceived as the best. And so I went and worked with a Tony Robbins coach, and that was pivotal mainly because the questions I was getting asked were things I'd never asked myself before.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. And I think the key question, I mean, we were in like our second session. It wasn't even, you know, a major journey here. I remember she said to me, "What do you want?" And I couldn't answer that question straight away. Seems obvious,
So
right?
simple, but so powerful.
Right. And then I said to her, "I want to do what you do." And she said, "So why aren't you?" And that was the start of all of it, because I went, she's right. So off I went. I went and applied, and luckily they were actually recruiting Robbins coaches at the time. So I applied. I went through this incredibly long and arduous process. But yeah, that was really the pivotal, I can't say that today, the pivotal moment.
We hear you. We know what you're talking about.
Thank goodness.
I think I think what's really interesting is that this concept of engaging a coach, you know, there are so many people who would never even consider it. But I would say 100% of the people that I speak to who do have chosen to live a life by design have engaged a coach at some point in their life. So tell me why. Why did you engage a coach?
That's a really good question. I mean, I was in this position where I was stuck and I didn't really know which way to step to get out of it. I think, though, once I did it and I started to see the benefits, you know, there's this saying, right? We can't see our own label. We can't read our own label on the jar, right? And so having somebody else to mirror things back, I don't know, that's just so valuable. There's no other sport or person at an elite level that I can think of, that, apart from maybe Kyrgios, who doesn't have a coach, right? And so I just feel like, for me, it opened the door to a life where I actually no longer work with a coach in sections or in periods of time. I now have a coach constantly. And I mean, I've worked with the same coach for 6 or 7 years. And for me now, that relationship is so deep that, you know, we just get to the heart of things so quickly, because it's almost like it's almost like a highway of information.
So, Karolynn, you mentioned working with that coach, and it really helped you to then shift your thinking to go, there's something more that I want to do in this life. How did you, like, was it scary? Like, did you have self-doubt? How did you overcome that?
Of course. I think it's really easy on the outside, isn't it, to watch somebody else's journey and think it's easy, or, you know, I wish I could have that confidence. But of course, it's not like that when it's your experience. So it was scary, 100%. And what I've learned, Katrina, is that's growth in a nutshell. You know, I think growth is uncomfortable, and I was stuck because I was in my comfort zone. And so anything that was going to take me outside of that was going to be scary, and it was going to be uncomfortable. So yeah, and you know, I guess that's what we work with a coach for, is that they stretch us in ways that we would never do on our own.
And it sounds like, I mean, you and I were having a little chat in the green room before about a recent competition that you were engaged with. You know, well, and I guess this is the thing, right? Is is to live a life by design, you have
Mm,
got to put yourself into places that are scary. So
yeah.
why don't you just tell everyone that little story of what happened just recently? Because I think it is a great example of just going, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Feel the fear and do it anyway. Exactly. It it came about that I had the opportunity to engage with this speaking competition. Now, anybody that knows me knows that I'm not the person that loves the spotlight. So to just know that I'd registered is kind of one step forward. But that was exactly what made me do it, Katrina. As I was explaining to you, I sat there and I said to myself, "Oh my goodness, that terrifies me." And that means that I must. You know, if it terrifies me, I must, because that is the signal. That is the signal that is the thing that is going to really trigger my growth, and it's going to be
Mm.
something I'm going to have to really stretch towards. So yeah, I did it. Uh I guess I didn't intend to be able to move through the rounds. I got to the top 50, which was probably not
Out of
expected.
thousands of people who actually applied for this, mind you, top
Thank you.
50 presenters, that's such an achievement.
Yeah, thank you. And you know, the philosophy though, I think is a really important one. I mean, I've done with this example. I remember when I was really wanting to hone my dance skills, so not even a work context, but I
Mm.
did the same thing. My teacher said, you know, hey, what about this competition? I said, it terrifies me. So, yeah, where do I sign up? You know, I
Mm.
think that is just an attitude that I've managed to learn to become my default.
Nice. I love that. The attitude you've had to learn is that when you feel fear, do it anyway, because that's where you're going to get your growth from. Thank you, Carolyn, so much for sharing that.
You're
What about,
welcome.
is there a big lesson that you've learned that you want people to know about?
The lesson that I've learned, I think that the lesson is comparison is it Theodore Roosevelt or something said comparison is the thief of happiness, and I truly
Yes.
believe it. You know, if I'd been in that tournament comparing myself to the other speakers, we get in our head, right? Oh, they're better
Mm.
than me, I can't do this. Whereas I think, you know, really standing strong that we are each on our own journey and things are happening in the right time and way for us, and really believing, whether you
Mm.
believe in a universe, a mother earth, a god, you know, everybody's different, and I don't necessarily want to, you know, to say one is better than another, but whatever we believe in, just trusting that things are unfolding the way that they're meant to for us. um,
Mm.
the good, the bad, and the indifferent. It's all
Yeah.
kind of, there's a lesson in all of it if we choose to just stop and observe and reflect.
Mm. I think that's what's interesting about comparison, right? Because you can either
Mm.
compare yourself and convince yourself that actually having a life of default, or, like, I'm okay because other people are doing this too, or,
Right.
I can't do that because I'm not as good as them. Like, you can either convince yourself to stay where you are, or you convince yourself that not to move where they are. It's like
It's
like it's just so kind of blocking in so many ways.
it's such a good point, isn't it? That we make comparisons for the better and for the worse, and
Yeah,
actually neither is healthy.
it's neither as helpful. Yeah,
Yeah.
nice one. Okay, what about strategies? What strategies would you? I mean, you're a coach, Carolyn, so you're helping people in this space often, right? So, what strategies would you give to people to help them break free from thinking they need to settle for whatever life they've got?
Mm. I mean, no pressure. I'm a coach, right? What am I going to come up with here? I don't know. One of my favorite sayings is, if you always do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always had.
Yes.
And so I think there's something in daring to do something different, which goes back to the whole thing about it feels uncomfortable. Like our brain is wired, specifically wired to take the shortcut. Our
Yes.
brain is not desired for growth. It's designed to keep us safe. And so, it's going to need to be a conscious decision when we want to change habits or routines or make different decisions. It's going to be uncomfortable. So I think it's really important when you want to break free to set small incremental changes that don't feel overwhelming. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm thinking of an example, right? I've been working on my fitness for a little while now, like maybe
Yeah.
sort of 2 or 3 months, really back at focusing on this. And I went for a run at the weekend. And again, I was in that kind of bad habit, right? Of, okay, I just need to get back to doing what I used to be able to do. And the strategy hasn't really been working for me.
Uh-huh.
And I stopped and went, so if I keep doing what I've been doing, I'm not going to get a
Yes.
different result. Time to listen to what I'd normally say to someone else, right? And so I went, okay, today is not about how far I can run. It's about how fast can I run and for how long.
Mm.
And then I can slow down or I can stop or I can walk. No more rules. Just do something different to what you did last week.
Mm. I also love in that little story that you told there, Carolyn, was just around this concept of goal setting.
Yeah.
I mean, it was interesting. Like even when you were talking about the the presenter competition that you're involved in, it's like you set a goal to like
Yeah.
how do I get to this point, and now even with your running, you're like I'm setting a goal. Again, you're not setting a comparison to I don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
better than someone else or whatever. You're saying, actually, today, could I do a better time than my current best time? So tell me
100%.
about that. Like, how do you think that helps people kind of move out of this default position?
It's a good point, isn't it? I think goal setting's kind of interesting, isn't it? I don't know if you've read the Atomic Habits, James
Oh, I
Clear.
have. I love it.
Me too. I refer to this book nearly every day. It's crazy. And I think it's because goal setting, I think sometimes we get wrapped up in the steps or it all has to be right. And
Mm,
actually, what I really love about James Clear is with a goal, if we can get really clear on the one or two actions that unlock the goal and
mm.
then focus on what makes them happen, because what we know about anything, any success is consistency,
Yes,
right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, if that's true, when we come back to goal setting, it's not about being able to thrive every day because we all have good and bad days, ups and downs. What I
Mm,
believe is it's okay, how do I be consistent? If I can do one thing every day and it's 3 steps and then tomorrow it's 6 steps and then suddenly I'll be running a kilometer and then before I know it I'm running 2 kilometers. And so
yes.
for me it's that incremental consistency with goals that really makes the difference.
Nice one, Carolyn. Yes.
Yes.
So you talked about a book there, Atomic Habits, one of my favorites as well. Have you got
Mm-hmm.
another favorite book or any books that you want to talk about that you love?
Mm. One of my favorite books is Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor
Oh,
Frankl.
yes. Mm.
But the book that I would seriously mention at the moment, Brene Brown needs to give me a little, a little incentive here. Her new book, Strong Ground, is incredible. Anybody interested in leadership, it is an absolute killer. I don't know if you've managed to
I
read it
have
yet.
not heard of this book. Do you know what I saw? I think I saw her the other day doing some kind of publicity about it, but
Yeah,
I didn't watch it. I just saw that it was happening and I didn't take note of it. So you've read it?
I have read it. And she's also done a 6-part podcast series with Adam Grant,
Ah,
where they really dig into, some of the research that she used to write it, and why she used some of the analogies. And yeah, I loved it.
Strong Ground. Is that what it's
Strong
called?
Ground. Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Mm.
Fantastic. Can't beat a good Brene Brown book. She is an incredible author, and I love her teachings and her research behind her teachings. They're just wonderful.
It is really good. And what I love is she makes it very accessible. If we're talking about beyond default, she makes these things really accessible, and things we can actually implement.
Mm.
Mm.
Let's talk about that for a second. So, what about habits? What are some kind of practical strategies or habits that you think people can implement to, like you talked a little bit about it before, just getting a little bit better every day? What are
Mm.
some practical strategies or habits people can implement?
Mm. When I think about my daily habits, I really think about lifestyle. And I know
Mm.
that may or may not be quite the intention of the question, but that's certainly my interpretation. For me, my belief is that if I don't have my health, I can't go and do very much else. All of these other
Mm.
goals that I want are going to be so much harder if I don't have my health as the foundation. So my daily habits are mostly linked around: what am I eating? When am I resting? Am I getting good sleep? Um, you know, the one thing I always have to work really hard on: am I getting enough hydration? Um, am I moving my body? I think
Yes.
these things are super, super important. And I think we sometimes put them aside. Oh, I'll worry about them when I've got my career on track, or,
Yes.
oh, there's something else more important. For me, those are the non-negotiables. And then, mindfulness practice is something I maybe don't do it every day, but I certainly try and get to it several times a week, because
Mm.
then I feel like everything else can then sort of fall into place. I've got the right mindset, the right kind of energy, if you like,
Mm.
for everything else. So
I love that, Carolyn. I mean, that's what we say to people in our program. It's like what
yeah,
we find is when people get their health right, it almost
yeah,
unlocks their ability to get other things, to get other goals. It's almost like this
100%.
foundation. They've got more energy, they've got more clarity. They when you're looking after yourself physically, emotionally, mentally,
Yeah.
then you can achieve amazing things. So I love that you're suggesting that, Carolyn. I really do. I feel like you're really onto something there.
I think so. And I've really started talking to leaders about this concept of self-movement. If we
Mm,
are, exactly as you say, if we are learning how we lead ourselves physically, emotionally, mentally, I don't know how we lead someone else if we can't do those three things for ourselves. It just,
mm,
there's no capacity.
yes, agreed. What
Mm,
about I know we're kind of getting close to the time we want to wrap up, but I just want to explore a little bit more. Um, you made a decision to change your life. And when you started talking before about what you do, it sounded like you were just so passionate about it. Like how did you find that passion? Because I really think that being really passionate about something gives you a drive to overcome fear, go and get what you want. So,
Yeah.
just talk a little bit about, how did you find that passion? Why are you so passionate?
I think there's two things. Number one, what I'm doing now completely aligns with my values.
Hmm.
And I'm trying, as you're asking that question, I'm kind of working out, was it chicken or egg?
Yeah.
Did I did I get really clear on what I wanted and then my values lined up to that? Or did I get really clear on my values and then what I do aligns to that? I'm not really sure.
Very insightful.
Isn't it? I mean, I've done a lot
Mm.
of work on my values throughout the years, and I've certainly looked at what drives me, what really makes me feel fulfilled. And so I know that I'm not doing things for validation or for other people's expectation. I'm doing it because it truly lights me up.
Yes.
And I think that there's something in that, right? It's where does somebody get their energy? Where do their values kind of link up with that? But making sure that they're not under the guise, if you like, of looking for other people's praise or validation, I think is super important. I think the other thing that came to mind when you asked me that question is, when we want to make a change like this in our lives, I think it's really important that we're in a community of like-minded people.
Yes.
And so for me, I was really lucky when this all kind of happened. I was in that Tony Robbins community. I still am. And, you've got other people who are wanting to do the same thing and think the same way and believe that these things are possible. And when you've got that kind of, I don't know, container of safety and security and encouragement, I don't know, I think it just gives you momentum and allows you to believe that you're not going mad, that.
Mm. Environment is so incredibly important. I'm not sure if you've read the book Willpower Doesn't Work, but in it, Benjamin Hardy is the author, and in it he talks about, a lot of people think that, willpower is something that gets you started and drives you to your goals, but actually environment is such a key part of it. So you're talking about, like, surrounding yourself with
Yeah,
people who are going to encourage you, lift you, be on the same wavelength as you. Yeah.
100%. I think it makes so much difference. Because otherwise there's a lot to navigate on your own if you're still in that
Mm.
old environment, so to speak. I remember people saying to me, "Oh, you on about that Tony stuff again?" And it's like, "Oh,
Ah.
you're